Hello, beautiful alchemist. Welcome to Reiki Radio. I am your host, Yolanda, and there has been so much going on lately. I hope that you have been keeping up with it all because it is all really to support you and your path and answer questions, help you learn more about whatever your interest may be. And it's been a lot of fun. I feel like there's just been so much going on. I can't even keep up. One of the things is that I recently, in the last couple of months, I have been doing interviews for the annual Reiki Rays Global Healing Summit. This year is the 10th annual summit, and it will be released this fall. Those interviews have been, as always, an absolute pleasure to conduct. And then, of course, I love all of the conversations I get to have here on Reiki Radio and even the exchanges with you all, everyone who listens. Well, not everyone, but some of you who listen, who reach out and tell me your stories or reach out to me on social media. And those of you who share the show, I really appreciate that as well because it helps the community grow. It helps the podcast continue to grow. And I'm deeply thankful. So, on top of all of this, I have also launched a new platform called the Reiki Class, and you can visit that website, thereikiclass.com. And there I wanted to feature other teachers and practitioners, different tools that they offer. There are plenty of free resources there. There are also ways that you can work with these different teachers and practitioners. Some of them may be local to you, some of them you can work with remotely. There are all kinds of upcoming classes and events constantly. So if you go to the website, you can find all of the resources, the upcoming events, all of the things. And while the primary focus is Reiki, there are practitioners of other techniques as well. So you can learn more about the Akashic records, about working with crystals, about astrology, about Oracle and Tarot. There are so many options available. So be sure to check that out. And while you are there, you will see that there's also a new podcast platform, and it is called Awakening Airwaves. Right now on Awakening Airwaves, there are 8 different shows. So there are new podcasts that come out every Wednesday and Friday. They are hosted by various teachers and practitioners. And again, it's just more to build community, support all of us in these journeys of awakening and energetic alchemy. So there are different topics, different points of focus. Again, just everything to satisfy our curiosities and help us to learn along the way. So I hope you enjoy all of this. You can also find the Reiki class and Awakening Airwaves on YouTube. You can also find Awakening Airwaves on your favorite podcast platform, wherever you are listening to Reiki Radio. So that aside, one thing that was really fun and unexpected last Friday, I had a idea. So today, as I'm recording this, in just a few hours, Oracle School will be opening. And leading up to Oracle School, I offered 2 free Oracle classes. So on July 27th and on August 3rd, I had these free classes called the Oracle Codex, and we had a lot of fun. It's always fun to me to also meet some of you that I haven't met before. So thank you to everyone who attended. And just as a side note, so you don't miss out on any of the events, the classes, what I offer, be sure that you are signed up for my newsletter. So go to theenergeticalchemist.com, sign up for Alchemical newsletter, and you'll always know what's upcoming. So anyway, we had the free classes. And then last Friday, I reached out to 2 people that I know who also love Oracle as much as I do. And I asked them to do a YouTube live with me where we could just talk about working with Oracle, share some best practices, give some tips, and again, just talk about our experiences with working with Oracle and Tarot. We actually went through and explained and clarified some of the meanings of the tarot cards that people find most disturbing or uncomfortable. So, anyway, it was a YouTube live. It was a lot of fun, and it was so much fun that I've decided to do happy hour again. So if you would like to join me and some other practitioners for a YouTube live, it will be this Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, which is 7 p.m. Eastern. If you can't attend live, the recording is always available on the Reiki Radio YouTube platform. So if you just go to Reiki Radio on YouTube and click on the live tab, you'll see the recordings of the happy hours there. So I hope that you will join us for this upcoming happy hour on Friday. I will be posting reminders on my Instagram, which you can follow at Reiki Radio. So yeah, as I said, there's been a lot going on, and Oracle School opens today. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. But moving forward, or moving into the now, I had a conversation with one of my friends, someone who has become a friend through this work. Her name is Nathalie Jaspar. Many of you will be familiar with her because not only have I interviewed her here on Reiki Radio, I've always also been on her podcast, Dive into Reiki. We both share a teacher in common, and I wasn't sure how we met, but she reminds me in this episode. But what Nathalie has done is she right now is taking a break from her podcast, but she created this incredible book called Infinite Light. And essentially what it is, she took the transcripts from 21 interviews that she had at the beginning of Dive into Reiki, where she spoke to different Reiki practitioners and teachers to get their insights about different topics that would support us in our practice as practitioners. And so she took the transcripts of those interviews and put it into a book. And there's some more aspects to the book that also will be supportive of Reiki practitioners and teachers. So we do talk about that. But one of the other reasons I wanted to invite Nathalie to have this conversation with us today is because there's a lot about her that I've gotten to know in the background. And one of the things I think that's so interesting about her practice is she practices a form of martial arts. And there's a specific reason why she sought this out, which we will discuss. But she also shares how this practice has supported her in her deepening her practice with Reiki. And the reason I thought this was such an interesting conversation is not just because it's martial arts, but because so many of us may feel guided or called towards different techniques or practices, and we don't always follow through, or we might ignore it. We might talk ourselves out of it. But the truth is, you never know why something is calling you forward in terms of what you may want to learn or understand, or again, begin to practice. It actually reminds me of many years ago when I first started this work. I had this inspiration to take yoga teacher training. And I had no interest in being a yoga teacher, but I followed the inspiration. And as it turned out, I never taught I never taught a yoga class after completing the training, but the training itself unlocked so much more for me that I didn't even know was possible. So going through yoga teacher training, I learned just so many things I'm not going to go into now. But the thing is that the following that insight, following that knowing, following that inspiration was full of more gifts than I could have ever expected or predicted or even almost known about. So this is similar to what happened with Nathalie. And again, I think her story hopefully will help you recognize what it is that you are being inspired by or guided towards in your practice that will support you in your journey. And also having that openness of you never really know why. So going into everything with that openness of mind of let's just see what happens as I learn and as I practice. And really, truly, I mean, I guess we could all say Reiki does the same. I just wanted to alleviate stress and gain some clarity to choose the new direction on my path. I would have never imagined that Reiki would change my life and continue to support me in my life path in the way that it has in these last, I don't know, 15 years or so. So, yeah. So I hope that you do enjoy this conversation. And as always, the links to connect with our guest are down in the show description. So you can work with Nathalie, connect with her, learn more about her work. Go to her website, diveintoreiki.com. You can also follow her on Instagram at diveintoreiki. The links to connect with her and to the new book are down in the show description. Enjoy the show, and I will see you on the other side. All right, everyone. I am here today with my friend, Nathalie Jaspar, who is the host of Dive into Reiki and the author of a few books now. But you have a new book that just came out that we're going to discuss today. But also, I want to finally be able to interview you on another part of your practice that a lot of people haven't heard about. So, first, thank you. Welcome. And thank you for joining me so late in the day for you.
No, thank you. My pleasure. It's always great to have these chats. So I'm
Yeah.
really privileged and honored to be here.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy now thinking of I don't even know how long ago we met. I think the connection may have been made through Ifatayo.
No, I actually emailed you about my first book. So that must have been 2018
Oh,
or
wow.
2018.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, listen, it's been a long time and now it just feels like, oh, it's me and Nathalie again. We're going to have great conversation.
I
So,
know.
I want to start with asking you, we've talked about in previous interviews your connection to Reiki practice. We spoke about you going to Japan, and you really do have this incredibly beautiful story. So, anyone, I would tell you go back and listen to those episodes. I'll put them down below. But you also then started doing interviews and you started diving into Reiki. So, first, can we start with how that started for you? What were you hoping to accomplish in doing the podcast?
Absolutely. So it was 2020 and we were going through the pandemic. And I think my community disappeared. I used to have like an in-person community, very active. And from one day to the other, there was nothing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like I'm a very curious person. I I was a journalist at one point, and I love meeting people and asking them about their practice, their lives, everything. I literally am the kind of person who, when I sit at an airport, people sit down next to me and they tell me their lives. So I was really like, when I studied with a couple of teachers, but I was like, oh, there's so many Reiki lineages and teachers. I would love to hear more. And also, I'm a little bit of a nerd, like to really bring a podcast that is focused on Reiki, but almost like every episode will have a teaching.
Yeah.
More than getting their, I will get their journey and their origin story. I am so sorry, my dog is going crazy, so I
Oh,
hope.
it's okay.
Okay. So, anyone who hears some weird things, it's my dog having a blast. So I was like, beyond people's story, I really wanted to get people to talk about how to deepen your practice.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of a different focus at the time because a lot of it, like people either had different practitioners. Some podcasts really talk more about like stories of healing and stories of like, this is my life and this is how I came to.
Yep.
And for me, it's like, hey, when you came like into my podcast, it was like, okay, how do you handle if you have many modalities? How do you organize yourself? Like, let's talk about because you and I are like very different. I'm very focused in one thing, and you are able to juggle many with a core, and then you explain to it because a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Uh, when I interviewed Francine, it was all about Reiju and attunements. When I interviewed Nicholas Pearson, it was like, okay, let's integrate. How do we integrate crystals and Reiki? So it always was almost like mini classes more than a podcast. For example, one of the most recent interviews, it was these Brazilian ladies who created a congress out of nowhere. how do you create an international Reiki Congress where thousands of people suddenly go in Brazil from one day to the other?
Yeah.
So it was always with that thing about like, how do you deepen your practice? How do you develop your business and the knowledge? Because a lot of people cannot go to these classes. A lot of people live in tiny towns or they live in countries where they may not be able to afford going to trainings with some of these teachers.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I literally started sending emails. I'm a person like, I'll just do it with Zoom, not that much microphone, like really concentrating on the content. Again, that's my nerd part. But I always did the interviews, even though it was a podcast. I'm a print person. I love books. And I always wanted to do a book,
Yeah.
like, because I just love making them. I just find them beautiful. So since I created the podcast, that was the other difference. It wasn't just a podcast, it was also perhaps a book in the making. At the beginning, I literally was going to do 21 interviews only, ended up doing 66. I'm probably starting again next year. But so that was the other thing. Like I knew that everybody I interviewed also had to create a whole story that was bigger than their own stories.
Hmm.
That also helped me select everything. And I think the last thing, I also love drawing. And I was like, I did a drawing as a thank you, right? People come, they share the knowledge, they say yes to this crazy lady like emailing from New York. I didn't know anyone. I'm shameless when it comes to email. And they were so kind. I'm like, well, let me give you a present. I will meditate and do a drawing. And what I love is that instead of having pictures, because some people cannot really take their picture well, and the quality will be very different, I actually use the drawing as the representation of the master. And what started as a necessity actually really, I think, make the book special because you don't get stuck on how people look, age, race,
Yeah.
gender, anything. You literally listen to the words or read the words and just feel the energy of the drawing. So that's a little bit of the story, and I hope I didn't ramble too much.
No, it wasn't at all. I mean, interestingly, so I am going to ask you some things about the book, which is beautiful, by the way. Now that I think about it, I meant to tell you thank you for signing as well. But the book is absolutely gorgeous, and I do have questions for you about this. But I want to go back to it's funny that you say your podcast was really kind of like a how to. Because
Yeah.
I've been interviewed by you a couple of times and I didn't realize that that was like the actual theme of the podcast as a whole. So it's really cool. And I mean, a great time because so many people were looking for connection and community at the start of the pandemic. And funny enough, that's when I stepped away. I actually took a break from the podcast when the pandemic, because I was
Oh, wow.
traveling. Yeah, I was going back and forth between DC and California. But in any case, your podcast is incredible. And the beauty of these ways of these mediums is we can always go back. So, anyone, if they've ever missed any episodes that you have curated, they can go back and listen at any time. So, I'm going to put the link to the podcast too. Even if you don't come back till next year, you can still go back in the archives and listen.
There's
So,
so many beautiful interviews.
yeah,
Yeah.
you said 66. I mean, that's a lot of classes. So, Infinite Light is the book that recently came out, and it is the conversations with 21 Reiki masters and practitioners. And this is what you were pointing to. You always had the intention of this becoming a book. So, I do want to ask you, I just want to show for people watching, hopefully, you could see how beautiful this book is. And you have it segmented out by conversation, by interview. So you edited the interviews down to be able to really fit into the book. But also in the back of the book, there's a space for us to draw. There are questions. There's more. Could you talk to us about the structure and what
Yeah.
you're hoping people can take away from having the conversations in print?
It was very interesting because the structure, like, you can have a book and first, like, you have wonderful interviews, right? But, like, how do you put them in a way that they work like a flow and a tapestry?
Yes.
And it took me quite a while. I literally printed the people were the themes
Yeah.
and how do you organize them? And I was lucky when I interviewed Raven Key, she actually put me in contact with her editor.
Hmm.
I had to send a proposal.
Yes.
And I was forced to actually think of the flow and the structure. So I realized like there were different kinds of masters. There were the ones that were about the history, the roots, the system, the basics, the core. Then there were the ones about like more about the business or working healthcare. There were other people really working with people without income, like or people, for example, on the AIDS epidemic. And then there were people who were more about incorporating other techniques, crystals, like meddling, sound healing, like
Yeah.
Jasmine Harrison. And I'm like, okay, so these, I group those by theme. And then if we're talking about infinite light, I really like, okay, there are different types of light. So I grouped them by light. And then when I was finishing the book, I have this beautiful flow that comes almost from like the spark and all these different lights until the end, like the end of the day. And I was like, well, this is very nice, but I think I really believe in reflection about your own practice. And I'm like, how do I, these people, like they're edited down, they are so clear the message, but every story is amazing. I just cannot interview, how many Reiki practitioners are there? Like a million,
Yeah.
right? Probably active a few 100,000.
Right.
So I was like, I do believe that reflecting on your own journey and your own knowledge really helps you advance and deepen your understanding of Reiki. So I was like, after reading all of these and seeing how these people really talk very authentically, simply, there is no big words, nothing very complex, unless we're talking about Justin Stein and the history that has a lot of like Japanese terms. But that's the idea of that story, right? But even him, he really makes it very approachable. I was like, well, after people read this, they're going to be reflecting on other people's journey and knowledge, which is great. But after they absorb all of this, I want to have them reflect on their own journey, on their own practice. And I put it at the end because at the end they already process like a lot of how these people see their practice.
Yes.
And I put very simple questions like, what is Reiki for you? Again, there is no right and wrong answer. I should have put that, probably wrong answer. Which is your favorite oh sorry, today my brain is a little bit
That's okay.
your most challenging precepts, because we know it, we just sometimes don't take the time to stop and think about it.
Right.
Where is your journey? I was talking to a student on Saturday and she was like, I'm not advancing. And I have a very good memory, by the way. I was like, you came to me on this day, you were doing this. 1 year after you were doing this. What do you mean? There is not like, I think sometimes we don't even realize our practice has changed.
Right.
And also I think people, especially because there is a lot of women who are not used to taking center stage in the world of Reiki. I'm like, how can I start inspiring people to share more of their stories? To really like, I am worth it. My story matters. Uh, and let me learn how to tell my story. So hopefully that also will inspire people to be more, okay, this is how I share. This is
Yes.
the kind of reflection that are useful when if I'm interview or if I reach out to a podcast or if I just tell a client or a friend or a loved one about my practice.
You bring up a really good point, Natalie, the storytelling component. And I do want to touch on that because I think it'll help a lot of people in sharing their voice. But I just wanted to show how beautiful each chapter starts with the image that you created for each of us. And thank you, of course, for including me in this book. But you created a piece of art specific to each teacher and practitioner, and that's how our chapters start. But you also have, and I remember this, having being interviewed by you way back then, you wanted to make sure that you asked all of us what our Reiki oops was. So, could you talk a little bit about the idea around the Reiki oops and also what you hope we will learn from that as readers?
I think it's a couple of things, the Ricky Oops. First of all, I don't know if you know the podcast on Being, but she always starts with the same question and closes with the same question. And I love that.
Yeah,
So I always start like, what's your origin story and what's your oops? So that also gave me a structure.
yeah,
And like, all the content in the middle will be different, but at least I will have like a common thread that
yeah,
will also help set up the book, right? But mostly there were a couple of things. I wanted people to realize that any of us is not better or worse. Like you may be traveling around the world teaching classes and having thousands of followers and be on social media and be in congresses. That doesn't mean that you're perfect, that you're like superior. You're very human. You're still human. And it's just where you are now, it's just the growth of your practice. And actually, you learn from mistakes. And I want people to know that we're Reiki practitioners, but first of all, we will never be perfect. Mistakes are actually not mistakes, they're the way we learn.
Yeah.
And so I wanted people to feel like, okay, it's okay. Sometimes I try too hard. Oh, it's okay if I believe the symbols were like international codes, like phone numbers, like weird things that I just dialed to send the energy. It's okay, like if there was like a great story from a German practitioner where he was doing a distance session in front of him, but he had a very cute girl next to him and he got distracted. And literally he did like half the session, the other person noticed. It's okay to be distracted.
Yeah.
So, and I love that each of those mistakes in quote marks actually had beautiful lessons. So I want people to understand you cannot grow if you don't try, if you don't play, if you don't practice. And there is no way that you cannot practice and
Yeah.
fail quote marks, but do something. And even if you never make a mistake, as you advance, what you believe was true about your practice is going to change. And then is that a mistake or is just a change of point of view? It's just an evolution.
Yeah.
So I love sharing that. But also, and I was a first groupie, like I've been, sometimes we idealize these
Mm.
people. We go to them, we go, "Oh," and whatever they say, that's it. And then we don't even do our own homework. It's like, is this person even telling something that is useful for me? And I wanted people to not idealize them. I have a very funny work story. We were talking to a very famous person at work, and my partner like, and I get star-crossed. Don't get me like a writer. If you give me like Salman Rushdie, I'll just go crazy and not and tremble, right? But there was this very famous director, and I think it's Reiki practice that helped me. And my partner was like literally babbling, drooling, and I was like, can we please make this like, let's go to the point and get it done, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all human. So I just want to see how deeply human these people are. And I think how deeply human Reiki practice is. It's not something magical that only a chosen few have the ability to channel better than others. We can all get there. We can all practice it. For some people, we may need to go through a few blogs or a few sayings, or, I have ADHD. Sometimes I cannot concentrate like my teacher who meditates for 2 hours. I'll do blogs. So to deeply accept ourselves and understand that you learn by sometimes not doing the thing that is correct, and to lose the fear of making a mistake, because that actually can keep us in the same place and not allow us to advance. That fear of like, I don't want to make a mistake. This is the way I learn it. And I get very stressed out if I don't do the hand movement the way I'm supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Just soften into practice.
Yeah. No, I love that. And one of the things too that you mentioned a moment ago, like going back to the questions that you put in the back of the book to give us reflection, I think that is so powerful and helpful because a lot of times people don't consider what this practice or what Reiki even means to them. It is just, a regurgitation of maybe what your teacher said or what you read in a book rather than being really in observation of what am I personally experiencing with this technique and through these practices. And yeah, so I think the reflections in the back can be so beneficial for people. One, to nurture their relationship with the practice itself, but also to your point, like you said, you were so courageous reaching out saying, hey, can I interview you? A lot of people want to either be interviewed or maybe start their own podcast, but we all do this kind of dance around sharing our voice. And so, again, with that reflection that you provide in the back, that can help people as like a catalyst for that, really getting clear about your own vision, your own thoughts, your own experiences. But I also want to say what I think is brilliant about this, Natalie, is, you know, obviously I don't even know how many people I've spoken to over the years, but it's one thing to hear a podcast. It's something else to be able to go back and read these transcripts in this way. Because when we read it, we can really take our time and we can go back and read a sentence again. we can have our own personal pause and reflect on something that was shared. So I think it's brilliant and beautiful that you put this book together this way because it really can be an incredible extension of the teaching tool that you intended in the first place.
Thank you. And it's funny, that's a comment I've gotten from people. Because a lot of people actually, I had people who listen to the podcast with a notebook,
Yeah.
take notes, and like they literally take it the way it was meant to. So I'm very happy. And I say, I read the book, but the energy of the book is different than the podcast.
Yes.
And I think that's the most beautiful compliment I can get, because the book is almost like, when you have like a stone, when we talk is wonderful, there is an authenticity to it.
Yeah.
But then you take that and you just polish it, and it becomes a very beautiful, a very spacious, a very calm, a lovely oasis. And really, I have to say, people made it very easy.
Yeah.
The interviews were gorgeous. I literally just had to cut a few things. And it's incredible. It's almost like when you have this diamond, you just take a little bit of the dust. And for me, I just realized like how much wisdom there is, how many beautiful practitioners are sharing their wisdoms. And I just, that's what I love about the book, is like people shine. And I love that the book is not about me.
Yeah.
It's literally like, it's also about me, like about making it, but I
Yeah.
love the process. And I think the book is literally an act of gratitude. I still see this book and it's homemade, it's beautiful, but I literally retouched the picture, did everything because I enjoy the process. And I think what I feel when I have it is gratitude for the people in the community who are so generous.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. No, I mean, it really is. It's literally a work of art. I mean, like, not only is it like a teaching tool in a lot of ways, but again, I love that we get to read in our own pace what all of these wonderful teachers and practitioners have shared. But it is a work of art because of your artwork that is literally at the start of each chapter. So it's really, really cool. I'm going to put the link obviously in the show description so everyone can get their own copy. It's one of those things. I actually posted it as one of those Reiki resources that I think everyone should have in their Reiki library. So thank you again for putting this out in the world, Natalie. Now,
Thank you for being part of it.
no, thank you. Hey, my pleasure. Now, this is the thing. You and I, we have known each other for some years and we've had hysterical conversations in the background, but I've also had the opportunity to get to know some other parts of you. Yeah. And one of the things that's so fascinating is you, beyond just practicing Reiki, you went deeper into this practice. And I don't want to name what you were trying to practice. I want to ask you,
Okay.
why did you go in the direction of martial arts? What is it that you were trying to, or what were you looking for experience wise? And then can you tell us what you actually chose and what this particular art form is about?
Of course. So it was 2017, I believe. And I was advancing my Reiki practice and I really was feeling the benefits and I loved it.
Mhm.
What I found though is I was very happy in my Reiki space when I was sitting on my, like, meditating or doing a session, but I couldn't keep the stillness and the spaciousness when I was moving. I was moving through the city and my relationships a little bit, but it was harder at work. And I literally felt like almost like the energy was very dense and still not in a way that is more like immovable, like stuck,
Yeah.
probably. So it was there. And then I was very lucky. I was starting with my mentor, Francine, at the time. So he doesn't live in New York. So he will come, I will see him every year, every 2 years. And then I had come from Western Reiki, which I totally understand why people like it, but it doesn't resonate with me because I probably have a more Germanic kind of very linear structure approach and simplicity. I love very simple practices and repetition.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, and I'm going to use my sensei's sentence. I need to have stillness and movement in stillness. Like right now, I literally have this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, let me look for Qigong and for Aikido because I had tried Tai Chi, but I was falling asleep. I just didn't connect with Tai Chi. I tried to, but I don't know. So I tried, and at the time I was taking a sabbatical, so I didn't have a lot of money. And I also know myself, like if I have to commute very far, that adds also money, and also I'm lazy. I'm not gonna go to this place. So I was trying to look something that wasn't too far and also affordable, which in New York City, there is not a lot.
Yeah.
So checking an Aikido place that was actually quite affordable. And then I was going to go to a Qigong trial. And then one day I'm walking my dog and I see all these people dressed with Japanese uniforms, which are like these kind of like pants that look like a little bit like skirts, hakamas, and they're all dressed in black. And they're people from every walk of life
Yeah.
on the sidewalks taking a break. I'm like, ooh, there is something Japanese martial arts here. Obviously, me and Japanese, I still study. I can never understand it. I see Ken Zen. I'm like, what is Ken? What is Zen? Write down the name. I check it online, swords. I'm like, no. And so that you know, my whole life I've been scared of swords. Like I see a big knife, I cannot even use a big kitchen knife because I don't know why I'm always scared they're gonna cut my hands. I know it's
Ah,
a thing. But like I'm like, oh God, swords, no. And I'm a person who works a lot with beauty. I like lipstick. I love like little kitten heels. Like no. And then don't ask me why. Those things that when the pool is there, you have to go. I keep going. I'm like, but you know what? I check and it's very affordable and it's just 4 blocks away. So I go and see a class and they're very kind dojo. And I went to see a class, and there are many modalities of sword. Can I say what I chose or not? I can still keep it
yes, yes,
secret. Let me know.
yes, yes. Please
There
tell
was
us.
called kendo, but kendo is very active. You have a mask and you go with a stick and hit people on the head and scream. I'm like, no, I'm not screaming. Then there was also like very ancient sword stuff with like 5 people who were really like into Japan in like games. I'm like, no. And then there was this modality called Iaido, which is the art of drawing the sword. And when I went to see the class, because it was very silent and class is literally stillness and movement, movement and stillness. What I love, because the other thing I was like, Japanese martial arts, I'm a woman, right? So I go there and the sensei is a woman.
Mm,
So when I saw, okay, the sensei is a woman, I can actually be there. And I watched the class, and there were around 16 people just doing movement with their sword, fully focused, fully present. I could feel the energy, super harmonious. And it was almost like a safe space. But you could see that energy was almost as dense as when you're in a Reiki class.
yeah.
But they were moving. They were moving and talking, and they could still have that very strong presence. And I was like, oh. And everybody looked like kind of cool and happy and relaxed. And honestly, I have to say, very nerdy.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh. So I took a trial class
Wait, can
where
I ask you? I have to ask you something first, Natalie, because you mentioned you had this fear of knives and, cutting yourself and all this. Now you're sitting watching people draw swords. What was coming up for you when you were watching this? I mean, was there a fear? Was there a curiosity? What?
actually it was
What?
peaceful. That
Yeah.
was my biggest surprise. First of all, because in no moment, Iaido is an individual practice. So in no moment there is like a battle with a person. So
Uh,
everything is you're just cutting air and you bring the enemy to life through like acting performance, through how you do the movement of the eyes or where you cut or where you look or your body position.
mhm.
What I saw was literally a ballet, like just a beautiful ballet with this shiny sword that was just like a light, a ray of light cutting and making a beautiful shoo, shoo, shoo. And everybody was so grounded and so peaceful. I think I literally lost my fear of sword until I had to sign the release for the trial class that said that they will not be responsible if you die.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So,
So
so, so just to make sure we're all clear, you're using real swords in this practice. This isn't wooden sticks.
no. So when you start, you have a wooden stick for like, if you're very talented, 3 months. If you're like me, more 6 months. Then you move to a real katana that is made for this practice, but it's blunt. You can still stick it into someone and hurt someone.
Yeah.
But then when you're talking about the senseis, they all have what they call a true sword, shinken, and that cuts. So
Okay.
you have to learn that when a sensei is showing you, and they have kind of forbidden it, but when I started, the senseis, they love to show you and cut like literally a couple of inches, like to like, so you learn not to move. I think the main senseis ask them because now we're like packed, we have more and more people
Yeah.
coming. So now they stop doing that because it is dangerous. Like if someone is very young and they move, you may cut their arm
Right,
or their
right.
finger. So yes, there is a bunch. So you need to learn to be very present in your body. And you cannot go there and be distracted or be like in the stratosphere. You need to be in your body. And that was the biggest gift, probably one of the biggest gifts
And
because
the trust, Natalie. You're reminding me of, you remember you would see like the circus performers of someone with an apple on their head and someone throws like a knife and they can't move, they can't flinch. The person that has the apple on their head.
like that. But
Yeah. So,
yes, you also have to move because we're like all practicing the same movements.
right.
If we don't practice a kind of a similar speed and feeling connected, then we get hurt. So you have to be aware of yourself. You have to be aware of the others moving at the same time and practicing. And obviously, like, you know, they're very careful. They put the distance, like there is constant like watching because we know especially like beginners will get hurt. So there
Yeah.
is so much care. But the one thing you learn from day one is like this is not just about you. This is you and your interconnection with everyone at the dojo. So from day one, that concept of interconnection that in Reiki sometimes it's very difficult to feel interconnection unless you really have an in-group person or you're sensitive to energy. But these you live it in practice. Like you need to care for the other one because you cannot cut them, but also you don't want to be cut. So you need to be aware of yourself and others as a whole.
So I want to ask you this because I'm sure there are many layers to what you've learned through this practice. And again, it's the art of drawing the sword. So I have questions about that in of itself. But just from what you're sharing so far, what did that do for you to go into like this level of presence? Because that's beyond just, sitting with yourself and yeah. What did you start to notice? What did this do?
It really transformed me. And I think like you and I had a talk, I think it was with Ricky Race about the body and how to be in your body and all the acceptance.
Hmm.
And I think so as a funny to set this up, like how much he gave me. Today I was with my therapist and we did a disassociation test,
Hmm.
right? And I told her, like, I would have said yes to all these questions in my teens, in my 20s, even in my 30s.
Yeah.
I said, but now I can literally tell you zero. I'm not outside my body. I don't dissociate. I don't go to a place and don't remember how I got there.
Right.
I like, I am present in my body. And what that did was make life a lot easier because when you're in your body, uh, and a wave comes like there is troubles with relationships or something when you're in your body like it's not like when you're outside your body you just go like a balloon, right? A wind comes and you're like and you go and you get lost. When you're in your body of course you're gonna like woof, but you are in a place where there is grounding, you have roots, and then life doesn't pick you up so fast. And again, I think that was the biggest gift of martial arts. It's like I am in my body most of the time.
Yeah.
Um, I loved fantasy before. I spent my whole life living other lives in my head. Now I live my life, right?
Yes. Oh, okay. So now it's interesting. I just have to tell you, side note, I told you before I did martial arts when I was really young, and my sensei was also a woman. But this awareness that you develop and have to really develop in the dojo with awareness of yourself, but also of everyone present so that no one is harmed. What is the relationship like with the sword itself?
That one is very complicated because you have to build that relationship. So the ultimate goal of Iaido is to become one with the sword.
Hmm.
And very few people achieve that. When my sensei, who is a 7 degree like black belt, when she moves, I cannot see where she starts and when the sword start, right?
Yeah.
They're one, they move as one. The very high Japanese senseis, too, most people in my practice, even advanced, they don't. So the sword represents wisdom. So when you become one with the sword, the idea is you really become one with wisdom.
Oh, wow.
So every practice starts with something called Reiho, which in my case reminds me a little bit of Reiju.
Yes.
And so the first thing we do when we go to the dojo is we bow to the sword, and we place the sword inside us with the intention that the practice will help us become one with the sword in time. So it is a martial arts, but it's really a spiritual practice, and it's acknowledged as such by the community. Like all the Japanese sensei come like, this is a spiritual practice, and people are like, no, this is like samurais, and like, but yeah, it is a spiritual practice. So the idea is that as you practice, and if you think about with Reiki, first of all, you go into your body, right? Mind and body come together. So we have mind body or mind body heart. In martial arts, we have Kiken Tai Chi, mind body sword,
Mm.
and you have to become one, right? And as in every Japanese saying, like the sword is the link that helps your mind and body come together. And so it is really about oneness. In that sense, like when you advance, you start feeling one with everything.
Yeah.
And I remember my sensei also said, like, you learn that you are the center of the universe, but everybody is the center of the universe.
Right. Well,
So,
this is coming. I'm sorry, I have so many questions about this, Natalie, and just because of knowing you through, the practice, I'm sure I can ask you whatever. But, so I want to back up with this because this relationship idea to the sword, and you starting off as someone who was afraid of knives, right? So I
yeah.
imagine that would have been interesting just coming into the relationship of the idea of the sword. But how does that affect the way you hold it? Not even moving it around, but just the holding of the sword. Like, did you have anxiety at first? How did you get comfortable with it?
So it's very strange because they're very beautiful.
Hmm.
So the surprising thing is like I fell in love with my first sword. I named her Sophia. I now have a second one called Veda. Yeah, Sophia seeking for wisdom. Veda, wise one, courageous one,
Yeah.
So once you have it, you fall in love with it. There is a very strange, and you practice so much with it that you start like I still am afraid of chef knives, but that sword, I don't know why. Perhaps because you're in a safe space or you know what you're supposed to do. So you're not scared of it, but the grip, and I'm very surprised that you mentioned the grip because the grip is the biggest issue we all have.
Uh,
Uh, because you need to have a grip that is flexible, that sometimes squeezes, but is soft enough that you allow the sword to actually do its work. So we all want to over control the sword, and what we need to learn is actually learn from the sword and allow us to have the sword can not lead, but almost lead.
yes.
But to be an equal partner, to be safe, like you have to have a very strong center and to move, but you need to really soften your hands so the sword can work with gravity and do its work.
Yeah.
And you're always going to learn here, like learn from the sword, let the sword teach you, which reminds me of Mrs. Takata, let Reiki teach you,
Yeah.
right? Uh, Most of us, I'm hyper flexible, so I have the issues that either I'm too tight or too loose. But even people with like better joint systems and better coordination, most people you're gonna see they put too much strength into it. So
Mm.
the sword really is almost your relationship with life sometimes. I'm a control freak. It's very hard for me to let the sword lead. I'm like, no. So that is a fascinating thing because also the grip is like literally is called tenuchi, is one of the most important like parts of the whole martial arts.
Wow. Listening to you say now, I know this is probably a horrible comparison, but it's reminding me of I drive a stick, and my first car was a stick, and every car I've had since, I love driving a stick. And if I rent a car and it's automatic, I'm like, I don't even know what to do with my feet. This is strange. But the thing about driving a stick is you have to really have an awareness of the feel of the car in a way that people that drive automatic, you don't. Like you really have to have kind of this relationship of, you know, using the clutch and moving the, yeah. So you just have a different kind of awareness of the
Yeah.
vehicle itself. That's what you're reminding me of. So, okay, so the grip and kind of letting the sword lead. That's also reminding me of how we always talk about surrender, right?
Yeah.
This act of surrender in a way. But then there's layers to this coordination, right? Because it's not, you're not just drawing the sword. You showed me a video prior. There was movement that went along with all of this. So could you talk a little bit about adding that in too? And do you kind of dance around your apartment doing the footwork aspect of this, Natalie?
So it's I actually have to practice. So I have no brain for movement. I am one also I'm officially the most challenging students my dojo has ever had. But forgetting about that, the good thing is I put very much in evidence what needs to be done because I literally need to like with Reiki, I literally need to dissect it into tiny parts.
Yeah.
So what happens is you move, and what makes possible this sensation of effortlessness and almost make it like a ballet, you saw the video, like it's just literally there is no it's aggressive but it's not at the same time very calm and very peaceful. It's a very strange thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a very strong core, so you learn to move from the core, not just the feet. So it's really about building hara. The whole practice is all hara, 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 which is the power center in Japan, which is your belly. So everything is also about learning how to feel your muscles and how connected your muscles are. So we do the footwork at the beginning. When you start, you just learn basic footwork. Okay, you need to do 3 steps here, one there, and then you cut and you do this. Then the timing, right? When timing is a very important thing in martial arts. Like, are you stepping and cutting? Are you waiting? You have to like look first and wait and scare the imaginary enemy and then cut them.
Yeah.
So timing is also important, which is a great lesson in life. Like timing really like you can deliver some news and timing will be everything,
Yeah.
right? When you do a presentation, timing is everything. So timing is a big thing, but then it really becomes about how the body can support the sword. Like it's really about how your body becomes more efficient, more connected, and becomes like so your lower body becomes this very strong, engaged thing that moves, and then the upper body has to be very flexible, which reminds me of heaven and earth,
Yes.
right? So your lower body is very earthy, very grounded, very dense, very engaged, and your upper body is very supple. It's very soft and very relaxed.
Yes.
It's funny because we don't think of relaxation when it comes to martial arts. And then the hands are supposed to be able to both be relaxed, but also engage and squeeze when they need to. But it's really then more about the lower body guiding the movement and the rest flying with it. It's really heaven and
Has
earth.
it changed the way that you just walk?
It has changed the way I walk.
Mhm.
Uh, I also fall and I used to trip over everything. I still trip sometimes, but I trip way less.
Yeah.
I am more aware when I move of where I am in respect to people and furniture. I also lower my center of gravity. And but what it has changed the most is how I perform Reiju, the attunements.
Uh, mhm.
Because I don't perform attunements just with my fingers, my head. I literally engage my core. I lower my center of gravity and I can feel my whole body really going. So the way I do attunements is the way I do a kata. with a completely different intention. But it's
Right.
really like whole body, and I even bring the whole room. I bring as much as I can.
Yeah. That is incredible. And I want to go back to something you mentioned a moment ago as well, because I think this will help a lot of people. We tend to be, we all have our insecurities. We all have some level of self-criticism, whether it's really overactive or slight. Most of us have some relationship with this, right? But what I love about this, and when you were first telling me about it outside of this conversation, was you joke about not having the best coordination and you weren't so great and your sensei had to be so patient with you, but you stuck with it. So like you had this first potential barrier of being afraid of knives, but here you are now dancing with a sword essentially. But then there was no hang up or you didn't give up over perfectionism. So could you tell us a little bit of how this practice really brought you into allowing anyway? And could you also talk about the level you have reached, even in no matter how long it took, how you have persevered? Yeah.
Of course. So I I always chose to do the things I was good at, right? I'm good with languages, I'm good at drawing. And I think that is great because you can, achieve things. This is the first time and I had no idea I had no talent, right? I knew I was challenged, but in my head, I'm like, I'm so unaware of my body. I cannot feel parts of my body.
Mhm.
I am so unaware that I don't even realize how bad I move, right? I'm like, oh, I'm doing it like the sensei. Everybody's like, no. Uh, and there was a moment where I cried and I almost quit.
Yeah.
Like I was frustrated. I think the senseis they understand how hard it was for me because they'd never seen someone who was so untalented at it. And part is my neurodiversity. I really have issues with body like awareness and all those things. And usually people like me don't go into a dojo,
Yeah.
right? And then I had a big breakdown. And then I said, well, it's okay not to be the best. It's okay to just practice for the love of practicing. Because to be honest, when at work, before people would be like, they will roll over me. And now I have a posture and I have a presence that I may still not be doing great in martial arts, but it's really improving my life. Like I was able to ask for a raise for the first time in my life without doubting. So that breakdown was big. And then when I let go of having to be the best and I'm very competitive of having to win,
Yeah.
because I literally physically could tell you there is no way I can get there. Like I don't have the spatial perception. I'm hyper flexible. Like it's not even because I don't want to. So it was very interesting because then it became about knowing myself and accepting myself.
Mm.
What allowed that to happen, though, was also understanding that Sensei was correcting and I say criticize me in quote marks. And I realized that she wasn't doing that to put me down. She was trying to help me. So we started because I was so scared of my sensei. Like she's so badass, she's the best. But I was like, and I would fret, and then she'll get more nervous because I was fretting, right? So once I realized, oh, she's actually guiding me, she's not criticizing me,
Yeah.
then because I think that's it. We any kind of like sometimes any kind of guiding or mentoring, we take it as like, oh my God, I should know this. No, you're not.
Right.
So she has no judgment. I failed 3 times. You say where I reached the second degree of yeah, which is probably the same degree since the first time we talked, not the first. Probably we talked when I was a first degree black belt. Uh, I failed my exam 3 times. There is no judgment. So I think to let go of my perfectionism, my competitiveness was the fact that some people do judge you at the dojo, but I was
Yeah.
able to now by the people who I care the most not judging me, I was able to not judge myself. And now the whole dojo is starting to respect that. Well, yeah, she's just practicing. So she's very resilient. She keeps failing and she keeps at it, right?
Yes.
And you realize you're teaching people something that perhaps is important. Everybody will fail a test. There is this wonderful sensei. He's so talented. He's never failed a test. He failed his 7th degree black belt test because most people fail it many, many times before they pass, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, he's seen me failing test and I keep going, right? So I think sometimes we feel we have to be the best to be able to teach. Sometimes we can teach other things. There is nothing wrong. And I'm very open about I struggle and I love it. And I really got to know myself a lot better because you have to really go inwards. Okay, I cannot do this. And to be very honest, Sensei, she said, do this. I'm like, I cannot feel my left hip.
Mm.
And she's like, okay, let's find another way. So when she's also having fun because she's like, she comes with like, how can I teach this person? And then she applies some of the stuff to everybody else. Uh, so by being honest, but also being willing to put in the work
Yeah.
and the dedication, I'm myself learning. I am advancing. Like I failed my test, but I can tell you I've improved a lot. But also the most beautiful thing is the first test I cried 3, 4 days. I was so ashamed. I was very reactive when people say like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I was like it was so emotionally charged.
Huh.
The second time I failed, I was able to like, okay, I failed. I'm not feeling great, but fine. And then I cry when Sensei says like, I'll be there for you. We'll be fine. And then I cry because, oh my God, no judgment.
Mhm.
The third time, which was this year, I failed. And I was upset because I knew I had failed the first thing. I was very tired and I did the rest well, but I did one thing at the beginning. I knew like, but I was able to keep going. I literally was able to like, oh, I'm not passing this. Let me do my best.
Yep.
I was upset when I fold my uniform. It's like, damn, it's the third time I fail. And then I'm like, but you know what? I really don't care about the test.
Yes.
I've gained so much from the fact that I can fail a test and not and feel literally fine. And you could see how people shifted. The whole people that were there, they were like, "Did you pass?" I'm like, "No," and but they saw me so like calm. They were like, "Next time." It was so kind of supportive, right?
Yep.
And now I'm really like learning because I like and I'm having fun again because I may never pass the test or I will pass it when I don't know one day, but it's really about going deeper into the practice and just knowing myself like, can I let go of frustration, can I let go of anger, how can I face a test without freaking out when it's the fourth time and those senseis already are like, yeah, Natalie, right? So there is sensei today was talking about mental training, right? Like you need not only your resilience physically, like you need your mental resilience because you're not completely even, which in Reiki I am. I can have 18 students and I can make them as one. So it gives you a lot. And when you learn, there is another level and there is another level. And there are people willing to guide you because it brings joy to their life. That's
Yes.
what they're retired. And the only thing they do is to go around the world and teach people because they have fun. So again, we're talking about generosity in this book, right? There is a lot of generous people really willing to support you.
Yeah.
But you have to let a little bit of your pride. You have to let a little bit of the fear of not being the best. You need to open your heart and your mind and just go there almost naked, like, this is me. This is who I am. Can you help me? And they're like, sure.
Well, the thing is so incredible about this, and I love hearing this story again, Natalie, is because one, it's funny the way you describe this experience of, failing and working through frustration and these things. It reminds me of like, oh, you are really getting a lot of practice with the Reiki precepts or the Gokai, right? But then also, I love that your story points out the patience that is necessary for us to have with ourselves because we can be very hard on ourselves and put these expectations even on ourselves that no one else has for us. But also the point of our practice. I love that woven throughout this story. There was this point where you had to just realize this is just about my practice. I'm not going to put any other pressure on me other than that. And I think that could be something very helpful for anyone practicing anything, whether it's an instrument, Reiki, meditation. If you have the patience and you don't take it so seriously that you're being hard on yourself, but serious enough that you're diligent and keep trying.
Yeah.
That is really the beauty of your story. I love so much.
And it was hard, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm an overachiever.
Hmm.
And softening and you say surrendering was very big, but also I can feel it in my Reiki practice. Like a lot of times we start, I'm gonna do a training and then I'm gonna do this, and I need to have at least these followers and at least these many sessions. And we let the core of the practice, what really matters sometimes, like be like we have so many goals already that we don't allow the space for the practice to develop the way it should, right?
Right.
And same with relationships, honestly, and with any practice, as you said, but even with relationship, right? Oh, I'm going to meet this person, and by 6 months, we need to do this, and these are the goalposts and the house. Or with life, right? I need to have a house when I'm 30, I need to have kids, I need to do this. If
Right.
not, failure.
Yeah.
And what? No, there is no, you cannot fail at life.
Well, I also love the piece of this too that sounded like it was unexpected to you was how this practice had its own unexpected gifts. Because you started out saying, the quote from your teacher, you wanted to find stillness and movement and stillness. Okay, that's great. But then here you come out on the other side, developing all of this patience and the self awareness and understanding being guided and not taking it as criticism, but also the power of presence that you say then developed and translated into your career and just how you show up in the world. Because we talk a lot about, feeling more confident, being in our authenticity, and all of these things. And I love that you have allowed this way of your practice, like bigger picture, being exactly what is perfectly curated for you. You wanted to know how to have this stillness and motion. And so you did some research. Your research story is hilarious, but you made a real practical choice there, right? But you
All
did
right.
all of these things, but it's all then woven into the same. So before we go, because the hour goes by so fast, I can't believe it, could you share a little bit about where you have noticed that this beautiful practice of, is it Iaido?
Yeah.
Iaido? Iaido,
Yeah, I do.
how it has helped you even with your Reiki practice?
I think a couple of things. I have stage fright.
Mm,
I am really good talking one on one. I'm not good at talking in public. I'm not really good. Um, I did a couple of talks on stage standing, and the first one was kind of not great. The second one, I really rushed, and it wasn't extremely bad, but it wasn't the best.
yeah,
And I honestly wanted to hide after, like, oh my God, I never should do this again. My practice with the idol actually helped me.
yeah.
And I had a third after that where I had another talk. And I was able to say, I need a chair.
Wow.
I need a chair. I need to sit down and I need to talk like not as an expert on a stuff, talking all this very intellectual, this too much. I'm gonna talk a heart to heart and just talk and be who I am. I'm not gonna teach like this very, and that was a beautiful talk. And now I think I can handle talks. Now I found my right space. Because when I was seated in my true self, being my true, all of it, like being myself authentically, there was presence. I didn't need stages. I don't need microphones unless really you need
Yeah.
it. I I can have presence. I can literally command like a room as long as I'm seated.
Wow.
Uh, but I also was able to like, okay, I did badly. I'll do it again. Oh, I did a little bit better, and the third time I did well. We don't, even if you don't have stage fright, giving a presentation to 60, 80, or 100 people, we are not born with this. So we have to understand that we're gonna like not do everything perfectly unless you're a really gifted speaker. But again, timing, what you say, how much you share, the speed you share, you need to have resilience and learn. And like next time I'll do it better. What can I improve? What didn't work? This. Oh, let me try to shift. And we're talking about reflection. I think martial arts has, when I leave something that it didn't go well, instead of judge, I will judge myself and go down a little bit. But then after 5 minutes of self pity, I'll go, okay, what worked? What didn't work? What do I want to shift for the next time?
Mm.
right? Because that job of non-judgment of like, hey, you didn't pass this time, we're gonna work on this. Actually, my sensei never even told me all the mistakes. She just told me we're gonna start working more on this. She told me we'll focus on the positive, like how we're gonna improve it.
Yeah.
That has been a gift at work when something I flop. I do a bunch of creative presentations. Creativity is hard on the ego. Uh, okay, they didn't like what they didn't like. How can I shift things? So there is a resilience, less judgment, and the ability to actually then adapt. And I think that was in Reiki. I think when it comes to classes, the presence also is very important. Sorry, I'm going a little bit
No,
back and
no,
forth.
it's fine.
But I think also when we talk about presence beyond commanding a room or commanding presentations or like at work, I think also is a presence that is soft,
Hmm.
right? We're talking about how we soften in martial arts.
Yeah.
So it allows the energy to flow. So when I'm teaching classes, there is people feel more at ease because they are being held, but they're being held in a very respectful, soft way. They're not being, I'm not just like, boom. There is a presence, a dense presence that is there that there wasn't before. My energy was a little bit more, a little bit more heavenly, a little bit lighter, and we always think high vibration. And I want to say high when we think. For me, high vibration comes across as like moving your hands very fast, like a little. And I think that's why I like the word deeper into your practice than higher, because for me, higher is just like high vibration, like goes too fast. And there is something very beautiful about a present that is almost like the sea, right? These waves, very dense, that can support you. And I felt that also when I teach, the way I held the space, I hold the space for people is very different.
Yeah.
Uh, if I have students who challenge me, I can totally let it go. And I judge my students way less. My sensei is very kind, not judge. So I'm also like, hey, this person is not getting it. They will get it.
Yeah.
Or this person doesn't like me very much and is not enjoying the class. Well, I'll just smile. So it's not like, oh my God, I hate this woman or this man. No, it's just like, okay, let's just soften all of us. Is there anything I can do for them to have more fun? No, okay. This is
Yeah.
it. This is
Yeah. No, I love this. It sounds like, again, it's incredible how much perspective has come from this practice. And, it reminds me of the same, I think, surprise a lot of people get in thinking that they're coming into Reiki for whatever reason they have. And then when you really do show up for practice, you end up having like this treasure trove of gifts that really were unexpected in the ways that it can really support you. I also love, though, and I hope people really get this, that while you were practicing Reiki, you still do, you teach Reiki, you still, again, you noticed what was necessary for you to help you go deeper in whatever type of practice or experience you, Nathalie, wanted to have. And I think that's so important for people to own because, again, I think sometimes people can get caught up in the idea of mimicking or thinking they have to mirror someone else rather than really tuning into like, but what's true for me? So your story to me is so much fun. I wish I had all day. Anyone listening, I'm sorry if I didn't ask her what you wanted me to. We only have so much time. But I will say for all of us as well, your story is very inspiring, Nathalie. There's a lot more I could ask her. Maybe she'll come back for the other things we talk about behind the scenes. But this book, too, Infinite Light, I'm always amazed by the contributions and the generosity in this community. I feel like
yeah.
all of the authors, all of the teachers, all of the practitioners, this community is incredible in the generosity of like willingness to share, willingness to show up, willingness to put the effort and time and energy to author, these books and things. But the fact that you not only took the time to do the podcast, but then said, no, I'm going to give more, edited and put together and just curated this beautiful book for us. I want to say thank you. But everyone as well, it's called Infinite Light, and it's conversations with 21 Reiki masters and practitioners by Nathalie Jaspar. and the link is below. Are there any last words you have for us or any suggestions of reading this book? And the reason I'm asking that is because you have segmented it by category, as you mentioned in the beginning. Is this something that, like you, if you weren't the one who put this together, is this something you would read from like front to back, or do you think you would go by topic? Any suggestions on this?
I think at least the first section, the section of like the first interviews, and I have to go back and check the how I named it. I think it's not dusk. What is the it's dawn. Yeah. So I think dawn should go first. Because Don has really some of the people who study with Mrs. Takata. It has the foundation of the history with Justin Stein. It has people like Arjava who found the memorial stone, which is very, he has one of the funniest oops, I have to say. Bernstein really also establishing like some of like the basics, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and then I will go the first time for the order, but then I think people can switch. I do like the last interview with Bill Stevens. It's a beautiful interview. Bill Stevens is close. He's already 91, 92 right now. And I love it because there is a lot about, honestly, he supported a lot of people dying. And I think that's why he's the last interview.
Yeah.
And he's facing also his own transition at one point. Like he's still very healthy, don't get me wrong. He's still teaching and doing all of that. But for me, it made sense for him to be the last.
Yeah.
Uh, so I think as long as you get that last interview last and the down people first, and then you can jump. I also will invite people when they so down, uh, perhaps see the drawings and just allow the drawings to tell you who to read.
Yeah.
Because I do think serendipity, again, I opened the space, I walk my dog, and I found these people. And so we also have to allow space for serendipity.
Yeah.
So sometimes just look and whatever drawing or headline calls to you, just read that person.
Yeah. No, I love that. Every time I open the book, it's funny you say that. I open on a different person's interview each time I open it. So, yeah, just trust, open up. But starting with the section that's called Dawn can be very helpful because of the nature of those conversations. So, I'm glad I asked you that. Well, Natalie, I know that you are taking a little bit of a break from diving into Reiki, but you did kind of tease that you might come back next year. That aside, how can everyone connect with you? Still tune in to the episodes that are available. And is there anything new? Or are you kind of just stepping back this year altogether?
So there's some classes that will come, but mostly I am going to Japan in October. So I'm planning for a series of classes on Reiki 1, Reiki 2, Reiki 3 after that. Uh, Obviously, the dive into Reiki episodes, I think, will be actually some recordings about my experience in Japan. I'm going to be there 2 weeks visiting a lot of temples. I'm going to stay overnight on a couple of temples. So it will be also reflection on that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring a lot more about those things, those insights about Japanese culture or arts that can help us a little bit get some ideas in Reiki. I think that what really passionates me. Like, and it's going to be more like a few episodes, then a break, a few episodes.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I think that is new. The Patreon also, it's always ongoing. So there are always new classes. That is something I'm still very active.
Yeah.
So I think that is for now. I'm going to take a break from books for a little bit. I'm still deciding if I'm going to do like the second version, like the second tome or not.
Yeah.
That may happen right now. I just literally need to rest because it takes like 2 years. But I do think I want to teach a series of classes, including one Reiki Master that is really inspired by whatever learnings I have from my trips to Japan and martial arts. And not in the sense that you're going to learn martial arts, but how to use your body and to have bigger presence in your Reiki practice. So really more from that angle about like how to soften, how to really be grounded in your hara and hold the space in a different way.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. So you already know this. Of course, when we know when her classes will be, I will share with you what is upcoming with Natalie, but you can stay in touch with her as well. On Instagram, she's at Dive Into Reiki. Your website is Dive Into Reiki, and the links for the book and the podcast and all the ways to connect with you are down in the show description. So I guess sometime next year we'll have to chat again about your adventures in Japan. But thank you for
Yeah.
sitting with me tonight, my love.
Thank you so, so much for always being talking about generosity and kindness and being a platform for all of us to share our stories. Yolanda, you're super grateful. I am super grateful. Sorry, I'm rambling now. My dyslexia is gone. But I just want to say how important it is to have these spaces. The work that you do is fantastic. I think listening to this podcast really help all of us to grow. And thank everyone who also comes on your podcast and share the stories. Generosity, as you mentioned, is really key in our community.
Yeah.
Exchanging experiences and ideas is what makes us grow. And then the last thing is keep playing, keep trying,
Yes.
keep pretending.
Keep playing, keep trying. Listen, this is so true, but I think your story really will inspire that in everyone as well. So, yeah, and don't forget, I don't want to forget the interviews that are available in this beautiful book. You can also listen to them at Dive Into Reiki. But the book, it is a very unique way of being able to dive into the conversations that Natalie had in these interviews and what we can learn from them. So we will see all of you very soon. Bye for now.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay, beautiful alchemist. First of all, of course, I want to thank Natalie for taking the time to have this conversation, to share some other parts of her practice with us beyond the practice of Reiki. If you want to learn more about Natalie and her work, don't forget her website is Dive Into Reiki. Her Instagram handle is also Dive Into Reiki, and her podcast is Dive Into Reiki. And if you want to keep up to date with everything that's upcoming, what's coming up in terms of classes, events, just all kinds of things, go to my website, theenergeticalchemist.com, and be sure to sign up for the alchemical newsletter so you're always up to date with what is coming up and going on. Like I said, Oracle School is starting today. I have Intuitive Mastery that starts in November. The Alchemy Circle 2026, that registration has opened and closed, and there's just so much that I want to make sure you don't miss. So sign up for the Alchemical News. I hope to see you at happy hour on Friday. And be sure to check out Awakening Airwaves and thereikiclass.com. That is all for today, my loves, and I will see you soon. Remember to always journey in love.